Good morning, everybody. Obviously, you get the three amigos first. Kyle, Beaver, and everybody else will be on a little bit later, but we got to get these college basketball games out of the way because they start pretty early. So let's just get this going right now. Beaver, do you got the poll up? Everything going
yes,
good on your side? All right, let's get it moving.
High operational functions here.
Appreciate that. Marquette, Xavier, pretty decent game. Scoop, why don't you start us off?
Sure. What's up, guys?
This morning. Good morning.
Yeah. I mean, this Marquette team goes as Cam Jones goes. It was dicey there against Butler, but you see what they can do when they're on. In the second half, they couldn't be stopped. Scored 48 in the second half. The issue with Marquette is, I mean, Joplin's just so off right now shooting. He needs to be better. I'm not sure Marquette can put this away. I know they're really solid on both ends of the floor. Obviously, they're a better team, but Xavier played some tough battles right now. Conwell's been shooting lights out from deep. Fremantle has been solid down low, so that's a big blow to their team since he'll be out indefinitely. But I mean, if Maddox can even come close to what he did off the bench, they'll be good. They did lose 3 of their last 4, but they played UConn overtime. They lost to a good Cincy team. Pretty good TCU team away by 4. All 3 of those games were as a road team. Now they're home and catching points. I mean, rightfully so. Marquette is the better team, like I said. But the way Xavier's playing, I feel like Marquette will turn the ball over more than the Butler game. They only had 2 turnovers that game. So they have Conwell, also a solid guard at McKnight. Really, I just feel like they're going to hang around all game here. It's a funny stat, good stat. Since the start of last season, Xavier's 0-11 against ranked opponents. 7 losses by 7 points or less, though. So they're in all these games. They need to win some rebounds here to stay in it and continue their hot shooting. But I'll grab the points. They're always competitive, especially their Big Ten home openers. So I'm going to go with Xavier in the points.
Yeah, this game was kind of hard for me just because it opened at 3 last night. I think you could have got Marquette -3, maybe 3.5 at worst. And I thought that was extremely low for, a Xavier team that obviously had just lost Zach Fremantle. And obviously they looked decent against UConn. They probably could have won that game if a shot falls or whatnot. And then obviously they lost that game to Cincinnati. But both those games obviously were on the road. So coming back home here against a Marquette team, to be honest, I was shocked to see it at 3 when I first saw it. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, Andy, because I was kind of spooked off. I obviously I want to play Marquette, but as we talked about before about this Xavier team is they lost Fremantle, yes, but they also have a whole 9 other guys that have all been playing college basketball for 4 or 5 years. So I don't think there's going to be a shock and part of their schedule for Xavier, but it'd be Marquette or pass for me. What are your thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, it would also be Marquette or pass for me. I wanted to go over, but I can't trust the Xavier offense, especially now that Fremantle's gone. I don't think that they have a go-to guy, and obviously we know Marquette has a go-to guy. The thing I wanted to point out, and the reason that I like Marquette the most, is they're a team that shoots a lot of threes. I know from personal experience, the one loss that I've watched this year was a game where they just got hot from 3. The 3-point Xavier against teams that shoot the 3-point a lot. I isolated it to the top 120 teams. They faced 4 of them. One of them was IU Indy. They dropped 80 on them. Wake Forest dropped 60, but that's a bad Wake Forest team. And I mean, whatever. The other 2 teams were Michigan and UConn. They had 78 and 94 respectively. So teams that shoot the 3 are scoring on Xavier. I know it's a road game for Marquette, but they've pretty much been able to shoot anywhere. They went to a neutral site and they were shooting the lights out. So it doesn't really matter where they're playing. I really like this Marquette shooting. So I would be on Marquette.
And to Andy's point about Marquette being on the road, they're not one. Marquette is definitely not one of those teams that you have to worry about maybe playing their first away game or second away game or what have you. I think this is going to be their 4th game on the road. They've played a neutral, at least 1, maybe 2 neutrals. I know for a fact that Georgia game was on a neutral. So as far as Marquette traveling and playing on the road, that's not really something that's going to worry about them because they've been doing it so often. So it's Marquette or pass for me at 5.5. It's a heavy emphasis on the pass, but if you wanted to put Marquette, I think that they win.
I didn't bet this game. I was just leaning that way.
And here's the thing: I would be on Xavier just if they. First of all, I don't trust Sean Miller. That's the first part. And second of all, I don't know what to expect from them. Can we expect for them to get up, even though it's at home after that UConn game? That's really draining. So I think that you might have seen their very best effort. Probably very similar to what you saw last night with Providence, how we kind of lucked into that cover. But I'll take it. So next game up, Beaver. Ooh, that's good. Mississippi State, Memphis. I'll just say really quickly, I bet Memphis last night. I know Scoop did as well. We thought we were snipers getting +1. It moved to -1.5. I wake up this morning. Now Memphis is +1.5. So,
Right.
Andy, I haven't talked to you about this game, so I'll just let you go first to see what your thoughts are on this one.
To be honest, I love this game. I think it's gonna be a great game. I don't see the value here. I want to bet Mississippi State because I think I honestly think they're the better team. I think they're one of the better teams in the SEC, but they're not as tested as I thought they would be to this point. And Memphis is Memphis is very tested this year.
Yes.
They faced pretty much the gauntlet. So if I were to pick, I'd probably be on Memphis because of the fact that they've literally played one of the toughest schedules in the country. Mississippi State's not really played anybody, and their loss to Butler kind of scares me. That's not a very good Butler team. We brought it up before the show. Like, we'll talk about them later, but like, they're not a very good team. And that was a team that I thought Mississippi State should blow out. So just the fact that Memphis is tested, I would take Memphis.
Yeah, 100% agree. But Scoop, go ahead. You can say what you like.
Yeah, so thank you, Virginia, for that cover against Memphis last game. Like Andy said, this should be a solid game. I wish we can go a show without mentioning SEC basketball, since Andy says it's a juggernaut. But here we are. Yeah, listen, Memphis won 7 straight versus SEC and ACC opponents at home. I think they do it again here. Backcourt of Rodgers, Hunter, Haggerty, definitely one of the best in basketball right now. The issue was down low to start the season, but they've gotten better as the season went on, especially rebounding the ball. Sissy and Danja have both improved their rebounding numbers, especially offensively. And one thing Mississippi State has struggled with is defensive rebounding. They're 151st in rebounding, and a team that has similar rebounding problems, Virginia, just allowed 14 offensive rebounds to Memphis. So they created a bunch of second chance points here. And like I said, with the backcourt of Memphis, Mississippi State's allowing 36% from 3, which is terrible, 299th in the country. Memphis is going to take advantage of that. They're going to hit their shots from 3. They're already shooting 41% from 3. Plus, this is only the second true road game for Mississippi State, kind of like Andy said. And really, Memphis is tested. They have the 4th hardest schedule right now. They've played teams better than Mississippi State this year. I like Memphis to win here and cover. So, well, yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree as far as Memphis is concerned.
Wait, so it was +1, so that's why I said.
No, I got it. I get what you mean. As far as I'm concerned, actually, matter of fact, I think it's +1.5 now. I think it's actually flipped to the other side. I think there's a lot of people betting Mississippi State, and I feel the same way. I would kind of agree with Andy that there's not a ton of value here, but I want this Mississippi State team to prove it to me. I don't mind Chris Jans, aka the dentist, but like these guys just pointed out, they really haven't played anybody. The 2 times they stepped up in class was Butler, Pittsburgh, and both of those. I mean, the Pittsburgh game they won by 40. I don't even believe that that's possible. They're able to do that again. And now you have a Memphis team that I think that Penny Hardaway has figured something out, because clearly they're doing something right. Because not only have they played really, really well, but they've been tested as well. Like we've talked about many times, everybody loses to Auburn, and then that Arkansas State game was an early game on a Sunday. Even though it was at home, these guys just didn't show up. And then what did they do the next game after that? They go on the road to Clemson. They win that game in overtime after being down late. They go on the road to Virginia in a hard-fought game that I know that wasn't a clear-cut game for them to win, and they went up there and they found a way to win that game late. And now they face this Mississippi State team that these guys just talked about. Not only have played one true road game this year, that was against SMU. They won that game pretty easily. But I think this is a much, much bigger test for them. Not to mention the fact that you have this Memphis team that I feel like is their height and stuff isn't there, but how Dane Danja is playing right now, I think that he can match up and hold his own offensive, Scoop touched on it, the rebounding advantage. I do worry about the Mississippi State defense, because the Memphis has a problem holding on to the ball. But the huge thing for me is that I think Memphis is playing just as well. I think they're probably the hotter team, not to mention the fact they're one of the most experienced teams in the country. And last but not least, as I always touch on almost every game that I touch on, the freaking free throws. Mississippi State, one of the worst teams in the country shooting free throws. Memphis, middle of the pack, but they're shooting close to 75%. So if this game is close, we have a huge advantage with Memphis on the floor as far as the free throws are concerned. So I'm more than happy to take my 1.5 or at least a half a possession with Memphis here. So I think it's going to be one of the better games of the day, though, for sure. So,
now, I did see an over graphic. Did one of you guys like the over as well?
You know what? I did want to side the over as well. The only reason I haven't pulled the trigger,
Okay.
Mississippi State can go through these lulls where they literally just
Yeah.
And that's how Christians plays. So I did put it in there. I would lean over, but I
Okay.
haven't pulled the trigger.
But you wouldn't get there.
Yeah, they're a weird one.
All right. Just wanted
Riley
to clarify.
Kugel just kind of disappears at times.
And yeah, Toast is dying. He's day to day. So
Yeah.
I don't take days off.
He plays their
North
own Carol.
North Carolina, UCLA, it's mind over matter, boys. Are you hurt or are you injured? I'm just hurt. Okay. The coach came out of me there. UNC or North Carolina, whatever you want to call them. UCLA, I'm so excited to watch this game. I played the under here at 151.5. I think it's came down a little bit, but I would lean North Carolina as well. As far as North Carolina and UCLA is concerned, North Carolina is one of these teams that I don't think that people think are as good as what they really are because of the schedule that they've played. North Carolina's played a top 5 schedule in the country. Their losses, Kansas, Auburn, Michigan State, Alabama, Florida. All those teams are 1, 9, 7, 10, and 19. And Michigan State on a neutral, that's really hard to fault them on that one. So yes, the North Carolina record doesn't look really great, but at the same time, they've played a really, really good schedule. And as far as UCLA goes, they haven't really played anybody, but they have been tested early with some teams that know them, like Washington, Oregon, and Arizona. Not that any of those teams are comparable to the teams that North Carolina has played, but at the same time, those are decent teams. And I also don't really love the spot for for UCLA having to travel all the way over to New York. And now keep in mind, they also have Gonzaga on deck as well. So spot wise, I don't really love that. But as far as defensively, I think both of these teams are very, very good defensively. And that's why I played the under. North Carolina obviously wants to run up and down the floor, but at the same time, I think that's why we're getting such a high number, because they're one of the fastest paced teams in the country. If there's one team that I know that can slow that down, it's going to be UCLA, because they play through their defense almost as much as anybody else in the country. So neither one of these teams can really shoot that well. North Carolina can't shoot threes. UCLA's offense isn't that good at all. It's very stagnant, and they can't shoot free throws. So I played under there, and I also lean North Carolina just because they've been tested in these situations multiple times. And I hate the spot traveling across the country for UCLA after 3 straight games that they've looked really, really good. That Oregon game, they looked really good on the road, and then they came and played that Arizona game, which I don't really know what to think with Arizona. I don't think that we can start making Arizona a good win right now with the way that Arizona is playing, but still, that's still not an easy schedule for UCLA. So I do think it's a little bit of a down spot for them. So, and as far like I talked about North Carolina coming off that Florida loss, which they could have won. I was on Florida in that game, but they definitely could have lost that game. So North Carolina and the under for me. Andy, your thoughts?
Both teams shoot pretty much exclusively shoot 2-pointers. In terms of defending at UNC, everybody they faced that has a good 2-point percentage, I isolated to like top 100. The only team that they faced that didn't score 85 plus was Hawaii. That's not a very good Hawaii team, and Hawaii also had a shot to win that game by halftime. And then on the other side, UCLA defending it, they've only faced 2 teams that are top 130 in 2-point percentage this year. One of them's Oregon. They scored 71. One of them's Arizona, who I don't think is very good. They scored 54, and UCLA still barely won that game. So I would be on UNC because I think, they're a better offensive team. They run a faster pace, and like I say, in terms of talent, I think they have more talent. The more talented team usually dictates the pace. I think they will dictate the pace. I think they'll make it a faster game. I think that'll get UCLA out of whack. I don't think that'll be a good spot. I do say UCLA does have a coaching advantage, but I think everybody has a coaching advantage against North Carolina at this point. But I don't. He's a horrible coach.
Shots fired. All right. Good morning, Andy. Scoop, your thoughts?
I said it when the season started. This North Carolina team stinks. RJ Davis stinks.
Wow.
Hubert Davis stinks. JJ Redick stinks. Michael Jordan wasn't good in college.
JJ Redick went to Duke. What are you talking about?
Just kidding.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
just send shots his way as well.
I just wanted to throw JJ Redick in there. So, North Carolina can't beat a ranked team. They come close, but losses to Florida, Bama, Michigan State, Kansas, Auburn. Blue Blood UCLA is back. That being said, I am totally on North Carolina here, Beaver. Actually, I think this is the first time I'm betting North Carolina this year. No, UCLA is not good all time against Carolina. They're 3-11 against them, and although UCLA is 5th in defensive rating, They haven't had the schedule Carolina had. They've only played Oregon as a truly difficult game. So, and they're not great in transition defense, something North Carolina does frequently. UCLA is actually in the bottom 100 in terms of transition D. And I know I said RJ Davis stinks. I said it the first show we did, but he's not as bad as he's playing. He's shooting so poorly right now. His career lows in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. He's better than this. And although UCLA is one of the best defenses in terms of turning the ball over, Carolina takes care of the ball really well. So I'm buying low here on this team. UCLA will want to slow this down, but North Carolina is going to push the pace and try to make it a shootout. I don't know if they're going to. I still think it does go under, but they're battle tested at least, and they need this win. So I'm going to go with Carolina.
I just got to ask Andy, since he's the point guard hater, is RJ Davis a good point guard?
He's all right.
RJ Davis or Zakai Ziegler? Pick one.
Well,
All in your hands. Last 30 seconds.
Like Ziegler at all.
Huh?
That's yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. The RJ Davis hate is absolutely insane, guys. You keep in mind he's without Armando Bacot. I mean, he's essentially running this program by himself. Not that I'm some big North Carolina defender at all, but I'm just saying the hate's kind of insane. Next game up, Nova Creighton. I played the under. I hate it. Scoop, what are your thoughts?
I don't have much on this. I know Toast agrees that Nova isn't a good team. But Creighton, in terms of consistency, I mean, they're beating Kansas, losing to Nebraska, then getting rocked by Georgetown. They've had a lot of bad games so far. And as much as I think Nova isn't a good team, they've been playing better lately. Eric Dixon, especially, has been scoring in buckets. I guess everybody scores in buckets, technically.
Was going to say, part of the game.
But he is leading the nation in scoring. But they're a solid shooting team overall and definitely an above-average defense. There's just no part of me that would want to lay points with Creighton right now. I mean, they're definitely missing my man Pop Isaacs out for the year. They don't really have a deep team, but as much as I don't trust Creighton, it's hard backing a Nova team that really has one solid player and the rest are just players. These two teams are just unpredictable. I would definitely take the Nova if I had to pick, and I would lean under too, like Toast said.
For me, it's pretty simple. I feel like Villanova, obviously we know what we're going to get with them. They're going to run a very slow pace. And Scoop touched on it. Eric Dixon's the man. But at the same time, he's going to be facing Ryan Kalkbrenner, which I think that he can really neutralize him. And the fact that Creighton doesn't now have Pop Isaacs gives guys like Woogie Poplar, or however you say his last name and whatever, guys like that, a little bit of room to work. Not that those guys are very good at all, but I do think that this game kind of goes slow. I also think that we get a really good effort from the Creighton defense after getting, I don't know, Andy, what would you call that? Embarrassed by the Georgetown Hoyas after that last performance of Georgetown put up 81 against them. And keep in mind, that's a lot considering Alabama, who's a very, very potent offense, put up 83 against them. So back-to-back 80 burgers from this Creighton defense. I think that they're going to come in here tonight. Excuse me. Locked in and ready to go. So I played under 145. Yeah, I played under 145. So, Andy, your thoughts?
Villanova's such a fucking bad pick. Oh, they can hear me. Never mind. The drum set fucking sucks. That's the shittiest drum set I've ever seen.
Dude, it's a fucking Alessia drum set. It's actually like a $900 drum set. I have 3 more downstairs. Leave me alone. Just shut the hell up. Like, why are you here?
All right, go, Andy.
I'll be quick on that. Things can't get much lower for Creighton. The only way they can get lower is if they lose a home game to Villanova. So I think Creighton's going to win this one comfortably. I'm letting the line keep going down because it opened at 5.5. People are betting Nova, and it's pretty clear why. Villanova should have the rebounding advantage. I will give them that. They're much tougher. They rebound better. But the pace advantage is Creighton's. And also, when you look at Creighton's schedule, they faced a ton of three-point gauntlet defenses. I mean, these are really good three-point defenses. And then they played Georgetown, and Georgetown's a bad one. Georgetown's not a good three-point defense, and they couldn't shoot against them. They couldn't really do anything against Georgetown in that game. This is another step down. Villanova's just as bad as Georgetown, but this one's at home. So I think they'll handle this better. I think they'll hit their shots. I think they'll be able to at least compete in the rebound game, and I think the pace advantage will take them there, force some turnovers. Even though that's not something they've been doing, I think they'll be able to. I think we'll just see a different Creighton team today at home. So I got Creighton.
Fair enough. Beaver, next game up.
Okay.
Oh, Auburn, Purdue. We found out last night that Mr. Broom is playing. Obviously, that's a big update. So, Andy, I guess you can kick us off here. I already know your thoughts, so I'm sure it's going to be pretty quick and simple.
I'll be quick on mine. I shot this when it was -8.
What is it now?
Auburn's quicker. They're a better rebounding team. They have the size advantage. Obviously, that comes with the rebounding. They play better defense. They shoot well from pretty much everywhere on the floor. It's not a home game, but it's kind of a home game. It's being played in Birmingham. I think Auburn's going to whip them. I don't think Purdue's that good of a team. I think Auburn's really tough to get 3-point shots up against them. So, yeah, I like Auburn a lot. But I got it at 8. It's now 9.5. So, I mean, you're kind of losing a couple points there. But I think they'll win this one comfortably.
I can do it really quickly as well. I played Auburn as soon as it opened at 7.5. So as soon as I realized that Broome was probably trending towards playing, I took my shot. I just feel like we know what Purdue struggles with, and that's really good guards. And not that Pettiford and Kelly are something crazy good, but you add in Baker Mazzara and Broome that can kind of roam wherever they want on the defensive end. I just don't see how Purdue gets looks inside. I really don't. Like, I love Braden Smith. I love watching him play basketball. Fletcher Lawyer is kind of to me, but Trey Kaufman-Renn is just not that guy. And it's really hard to fill Zach Edey's shoes. I'll give him that. But at the same time, he looks so bad and lost at times. And like we've talked about, I mean, I've said this many times on the show. Andy said it. I know Scoop has said it. Like, Auburn is the best team in the country, and it's really not even close right now. So, I think that the Auburn guards are going to be able to produce what we've seen Purdue struggle with was, again, physical guards. Penn State, Texas A&M, Marquette, all those teams have really, really good guards that can get up in your face. And I think that Auburn does the same thing. It sucks that this game's not in the jungle, but I don't think it really matters. Auburn's killing everybody. Scoop.
Yeah, Toe said Auburn is the best team in the nation. They're better than Tennessee. Tennessee is going to come back down to earth. Auburn's only loss was at Duke. This is a big spread, but I still love Auburn here. Broome's the best player in this game. He's gonna dictate how this game's going to go. But even if he didn't, I would still take Auburn. Cardwell to pick up the slack has been great. Auburn has an inside-out game. They can score anywhere on the court. Purdue's not as athletic. They're slower. Auburn's going to press on defense. They transition nicely. Purdue played 2 true road games and lost by double digits in both. I know this technically is not a true road game, but it's in Birmingham, so it's mostly going to be Auburn fans. It'll be loud. So, yeah, Purdue's great from 3. They're a good shooting team. Auburn shut down 2 great 3-point shooting teams this year so far in Ohio State and Memphis, so they're going to shut down Purdue. They have length on the perimeter, so even so definitely with Broome playing, so I like Auburn here. The guards may be pressured. They would have been pressured a bit if he wasn't playing, but the team's overall, which is way better than Purdue, I think Purdue's going to struggle here. The struggling shooting, I completely agree with. I don't think that Purdue is going to continue to shoot close to 40% from deep on the road, especially against this Auburn team. So I know they shot well against Marquette and Penn State on the road. Let's see what they shot against Texas A&M really quickly. Yeah, another 35%, so not so bad. But yeah, I just don't believe in this Purdue offense right now. I think they look pretty stagnant, to be honest with you guys.
So somebody asked in the comments, would you play Auburn first half? I know you freaks know how teams start hot, finish cold. Would you play the first half?
I don't know. No. And the only reason, if they were playing at home, a true home game, yes. But on a neutral, it kind of takes the wind out of the sails for me. I don't know about Andy or Scoop. Go ahead. You can answer.
They're going to win the game by 20, so it doesn't matter. I think I honestly think they're going to crush them tonight. So,
all right, fair enough.
I like the full game better.
Okay.
All right.
Just
Fair
wanted
enough.
to clarify for that commenter. There we go. On to
you guys want a first half bet? Duquesne plus 3.5 against UC Irvine, coming off that huge game against Belmont. Go Dukes! All right, next game up.
Go Dukes!
They're called the Dukes. I can't make up names, Beaver. I'm sorry. I just don't have. I can't just make up names.
You guys
I was laughing at you. It was freaking Kyle laughing at you.
Okay, it probably did sound pretty bad. My bad.
No, guy's a freaking bully, dude.
I know.
Oh, it's Kyle. Yeah, he's. I actually, when I get off the show, I actually cry into my pillow every day.
So do I. I go home from work, I cry, and then I face the real world.
Oof. At least we get to talk about the Avengers now. That's always fun. Ohio State.
Not okay because it's another SEC team. So Scoop, you don't even need to talk about this. SEC now.
Scoop, why don't you go ahead and go first? Let's find out what your thoughts are on this.
I like this SEC team though. Yeah, I'm not sure about this Ohio State team. They're okay. They show signs of being dominant, but other games they play like really bad. On team rank. I don't know if you use team rankings, but on the team rankings, they're the 5th most inconsistent team in the country. Their shooting's great. Their 3-point shooting has been great. They're 40% from 3, and that's what's keeping them competitive. But I don't see them coming close here. As Toe says, the Avengers are here. They've already shown they can compete and can win a championship. They beat Duke and the Zags. They were both really close games, but they're still top wins. So Lamont Butler is a stud. I think he'll have a solid game here again. Big thing with Ohio State is Michi Johnson's out now. He's a solid 3-point shooter taking a leave of absence. I don't know what that's about, but that's one of their best players. And I know Ohio State has size, but that size isn't translating to rebounds. They're getting out rebounded even with the size. The effort's not there from them. So Kentucky is a pretty bad free throw shooting team, but Ohio State's worse. So it's always fun to play in Madison Square Garden for the children. It's going to be a lot of blue in those seats, so I'm going to take Kentucky. I like their team a lot better than Ohio State.
You guys already know. I'll just go really quickly. You guys already know it's the Avengers for me. I played them -7.5. I think it's the same number. I think that they've shown Kentucky obviously lost Kirk Creesa as well. Michi Johnson is a pretty big loss for Ohio State, but I will say he hasn't really played well the last 3 or 4 games. So I don't really know how much stock to put into that. But Micah Parrish and Bruce Thornton, I just feel like Kentucky's going to be able to get up and down in this game and control the pace on their own. And I don't see the Ohio State defense being able to slow this down, because I know that they've seen some decent teams, but every time that they've seen Ohio State has seen somewhat of a decent team, they looked pretty bad. I mean, Texas A&M absolutely blow them out. They got a Pittsburgh team that was kind of hobbled at home. They ended up blowing that game on a last-second 3. Shout out Pitt 3 plus 3.5. They got absolutely annihilated by Maryland, 83-59. Then they went on a neutral and faced Auburn, 91-53. They lost. They finally got a somewhat decent win against Valpo the other day, but now they have to travel up to New York 4 days later and face this Kentucky team that has been, like Scoop said, not only have they been tested, they've been tested multiple times. And the only time that they lost a game was on the road at Clemson. And like we talked about before that game, that was a really shitty spot for Kentucky, having to go on the road and play a team that can probably slow that game down and make them play in the half court. I can tell you guys right now, Ohio State is not that team. So not that Clemson is very good either, but I'm just saying that Ohio State's not going to be the team that's going to slow down this Kentucky team, especially with their defense. So I know the Ohio State's defense hasn't looked absolutely terrible, but it has looked terrible when they step up in class. I think Kentucky wins by 10 plus here. 8.5 is fine. I think Kentucky continues to roll, and until they show us a reason not to, you can continue to bet Kentucky as much as you can. So next game up, is there another game? Or Andy, your thought? Sorry, I
was going to say, you're skipping Dinkelberg?
No one gives a shit.
We don't want to hear his opinion.
I apologize.
I respect you guys too.
I care, Andy.
So I'll be quick. These guys kind of alluded to it. Ohio State, the competition, they've played 4 power. The reason I isolated this, I put 4 power conference teams in the top 70 in 3-point defense. The reason I isolated it to power conference is because Youngstown State is oddly good against the 3. So I left them out of this. But the 4 teams that Ohio State has faced against 3-point defenses, top 70 3-point defenses, they scored 80 against Texas. That was the first game of the season. They had a kid that just got hot in that game. They also had Michi Johnson in that game. And then A&M, 64. Maryland, 59. Auburn, 53. That's 64 points per game, and that's including an 80-point game against Texas. This is a team that averages 81 points per game. They are clearly not a very good team if teams can defend the 3. So I just don't think that this offense will have it. Kentucky, one of the best one of the top 100 3-point defenses in the country. They're a very good 3-point defense. They got a lot of experience too. I think they're second in the country in experience. I think this is a really bad situation for Ohio State. So clearly they have not handled the steps up in class this year, and I don't think they're going to handle this one very well either.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So I think that's the last game on the board. It's exactly 11 a.m. I just ran this thing perfectly. So that's pretty much all I need to know.
This is why you're the better host of the Sauce Network.
Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, Beaver, why don't you switch us out? And I think we're good to go.
All right, Suds McDaniels, go get some rest, and I'll go put Kyle on the screen. Okay?
Go take some fucking Sudafed, dude. You sound like shit.
I've been taking Sudafed for 2 days. What do you want me to do? Okay, I get sick once a year. I'm sorry.
Go eat a broccoli and cheddar Panera soup. Okay.
Oh, that sounds delicious right now.
Yeah, that does sound pretty. Sounds pretty dank right now. Go enjoy.
Oh, look who it is.
All right, let's talk
It's Garfield
college
himself.
SMU Penn State up first. Hope everyone had a nice Friday night. Had my first losing day of the week last night. It was not fun. I went over to my cousin's house. He's a diehard Notre Dame fan, and like should have been having fun, but I was actually just pissed at the lack of offensive production from Indiana. For the first 3 quarters of the game, that 198-yard run was the difference. But then Notre Dame put together a touchdown drive late that really put the exclamation point.
I'd say me and Andy had it worse. Well, Andy had the margin 13-18, so that last Indiana touchdown ruined that. And then I had +9, so that last 2-point conversion made me and Andy both lose. That's great.
Yeah, that's right. You both lost that.
Kyle, I got some really good news for you. Apparently, you're undefeated when you wear all blue.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know the accuracy of those
these trends are really accurate. So.
Someone says that I have a very good hit rate when I bet the team of the hat I'm wearing that day. But again, accuracy is not confirmed on that. So anyway, SMU Penn State, and Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think this is going to be very
Dog
ugly.
walk of the day.
Dog walking.
Buzzsaw.
I think this is going to be ugly. I know it sounds pretty... I don't know. I guess it sounds square. I think everybody is assuming this too. But I have seen a little bit of pushback. Some people on Twitter and some people around college football saying that they think it'll be more competitive than the game last night. I don't. I give SMU credit. They had a hell of a year. I was kind of on them when they had Preston Stone at quarterback. They upgraded. Kevin Jennings was better. But you look at it last night. Indiana hadn't played anybody, and they went into a buzzsaw and they got their heads ripped off, and I think it's going to happen again here. This SMU team, the one rushing attack that they faced all year was BC. That was a game against BC where BC had 4.5 yards per carry with a backup quarterback. That was an offense that wasn't moving the ball well, and they were able to move the ball on SMU. And then you take it the first half against Clemson. I mean, I know they made a lot of mental errors, which don't always happen, but they just clearly were a team that was outmatched. And that's Clemson. That's not even that good of a team. That game was much closer than it actually was on the scoreboard. So I don't see it. I think Penn State's going to have a really easy win here. I think that this is from the very beginning. You're going to see the outmatched SMU offense. I don't think that they're going to score very much. If you can take unders, I'd take unders on a lot of SMU's. Maybe the only over I would take is Kevin Jennings passing yards, because I think they'll be down by so much where they're hitting some of those completions Curtis Rourke had last night. I think this is going to be very ugly. Yeah, I'm all over Penn State.
I just saw Propier put a picture of dog walking.
Dog walk.
I like that segment. Andy says, this is my dog walking of the day. Scoop, do you agree? Dog walk?
Get the collars out.
So I am the only person in the world that is on SMU. I really like this team. You got to have heart, miles and miles of heart. And listen, all the pressure's on Penn State. Nobody expected SMU to be here. Nobody gives them a shot at this game. They can play loose, take some chances. Why not us? Why not us? Kevin Jennings is mobile. I don't care what Andy says. He is mobile. He keeps plays alive. He's been a solid quarterback all year. Rashard Smith in the backfield has had a great season. 1,270 yards, 14 touchdowns. Penn State's front seven is great. He's going to find room. Watch. He's going to find room. Even that Clemson game, you can see the talent that this team has. They scored 24 in the second half. They can compete. The thing with this game is whoever wins, they have a nice road. They get to play Boise State, which, again, deserve to be there. But the whole top four getting a bye is kind of dumb. But I digress. I'm not trusting James Franklin in a big spot either. I'm just not. I know the weather's supposed to be. Yeah, go ahead, Andy. You want to talk? Go ahead.
I mentioned that. The thing about James Franklin is he can't coach against good teams. He's not facing
good team.
He can't coach against great teams. He can coach against the average SMU.
Okay, so he was great. They did a great job against Minnesota, putting them away. Bowling Green, they won by a touchdown. USC, they beat by 3. That USC team was fucking amazing. They were great. 3 points. Yeah, this offense is better than all 3 of those. They're more explosive. I'll take the points here. SMU money line, sprinkling it. Let's go.
Scoop's reasoning for taking SMU was, why not us? He goes, miles of heart, why not us? That's his legitimate reasoning for placing a bet, as if this is a Kevin Costner movie. Why not us?
I think that was what movie was that? The Miles and Miles of Heart.
That's a Gene Hackman, Hoosiers.
Oh, the replacements. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh no, it is replacements. Yeah, it is replacements. Same guy, different.
Yeah.
It's, so I agree with Andy that this might be a dog walking, the dog walk of the day, as Andy put it. SMU hasn't been able to run the ball in a while. We're talking about 5-6 weeks now where they're averaging 3.7, 3.8 yards per carry. They're struggling to run the ball, and that's against their schedule. I mean, they're about to go into Happy Valley against Penn State. Top 3 run defense, top 3 defensive front in the country. I don't expect the run game to be there. Kevin Jennings at home, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. On the road, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Man has thrown some picks in his road games. And by the way, he's only made 4 road starts. So 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the road this year. He's only made 4 road starts. This will be by far the toughest. Has Kevin Jennings ever played a football game in cold weather? Ever? He's from Dallas, Texas.
I don't think so.
I don't think he's ever played a football game in the cold weather. Ever. I mean, ever. So now he's on the road in Happy Valley in the cold against the best defense he's ever fucking seen by a mile. This is a nightmare spot. Now, the only path I see to SMU competing in this game, and by the way, I'm about to say this, it's not that this path is impossible. We see this type of thing all the time. The only path I could see, and all of Scoop's eggs are in this basket, that Kevin Jennings is Lamar Jackson type talent, which isn't crazy. I mean, he was flashing some of that in the second half of the Clemson game. So Kevin Jennings could be an absolute hero today, but the pass rush is going to be all over him. He's not going to have run support. And honestly, I think Penn State's going to move the ball. I think Penn State's going to move the ball and score in this game. Drew Aller has shown us you can trust him to make the throws against tough defenses. I mean, other than the Ohio State game, he's been all right this year. Ever since Koldenek took over the offense here at Penn State, it's a little bit of a different feel. In previous years, we trust the Penn State defense, but we don't trust the offense to do shit in the big games. It's not really the same type of feel to this Penn State team. I mean, they ran the ball all over Oregon. Drew Aller has shown up. The second half of that USC game was very impressive. They were down at half. Drew Aller came out throwing the ball all over the field. Not that USC is some elite defense, but the SMU pass defense is vulnerable as hell. So I expect Penn State to run the ball, move the ball, score points. And on the SMU side, their only path to victory, it's a narrow path. It's not going to be an easy walk. Kevin Jennings has to be an absolute hero, and I'm willing to bet against that. If I'm wrong, Kevin Jennings will probably be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft because he's going to have that kind of performance. If Kevin Jennings plays the way he needs to play to make this a competitive game, he's going to jump into the top 10 of the NFL draft for next year or whatever the hell he's going to the draft. So
can't believe we're going to see an SMU versus Boise State game next week. Tinker said dog walk of the day versus dog of the day.
Is that AC Locks in the comments? What the hell happened to AC Locks? Ever since the criminal allegations, I haven't seen him.
Yeah, that incident. Wow.
Ever since the incident.
Wow, it was tough.
Next game. Clemson, Texas. Hate my bet.
Very, very confident of you.
No, not confident at all. This bet sucks.
I'm not either, and I bet it too. So.
You're on the same as me?
Yep. But I got it at a worse number, so good for me.
Same as me. Even better, though. I got the worst of the number.
You did. I think I got a little better than you.
I did the video. You Clemson, right?
All right, Andy, true or false, dog walking here?
No. I think this is the one underdog that I'd side having even a chance to win their game, to be honest with you. I'm not saying Clemson's going to win. I want to be clear about that. Clemson's not going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a touchdown, within a touchdown. I think it's going to be closer than people think. It's gotten, what did it open at? 10.5, I think it was. I waited because I saw 10.5 and I was like, oh, people are going to fall into that. People are going to take Texas. People forget, and I give Texas credit. This team has had to step up in class, twice this year? And it was Georgia both times, and they looked god-awful offensively. And look, I'm not saying Clemson's this great team. I'm not saying Clemson's Georgia. Clemson's got a really, really good defense. The defense has always been there for them. The problem is their offense was very inconsistent all year. If you look at Texas's schedule, the defenses they faced were a joke. I mean, other than Georgia, it was, A&M. A&M didn't have that great of a defense this year. It took a step back with Mike Elko. Colorado State was how they opened UTEP. Michigan wasn't that good. Michigan, that game especially, they kind of blew Michigan out. Michigan wasn't very good. They didn't have a schedule that actually earned them an opportunity here. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be here, but every time they had to play well, they didn't play well. Like other than the A&M game, and A&M again wasn't that good. So I'm just making it clear that I don't think that this is a very good Texas team. So when I saw the number was 10.5, I was like, oh, people are gonna bet that up. So I waited. I bet it last night at 13. I didn't even know it was gonna go up to 13.5. Clemson at 13, nearly 2 touchdowns. They're not losing this game by 2 touchdowns, in my opinion. Quinn Ewers, I don't even know if Quinn Ewers is going to make it through this game. The pass rusher is going to be there. He clearly could not handle it against Georgia. He can't handle good defenses. So are they going to throw Arch in? If they throw Arch in, that's like the only way I think they blow them out. Because maybe Arch comes in and shows all that talent people keep talking about and they blow him out, but I don't see that happening. If Quinn Ewers is the quarterback for Texas, which everyone has said he's going to be, I think that this is going to be a close game. Cade Klubnik can make plays. The Texas defense, again, they haven't seen great quarterbacks really all year. Not saying Cade Klubnik's great, but he's pretty good. He's one of the better quarterbacks they've seen, to be honest with you, because Carson Beck is clearly not that good. So I think this is a really close game, a touchdown game that Texas wins in the end.
Yeah, I'm on Clemson. I hate it. I think it's going to lose. I think this is a losing bet. Clemson's offense isn't going to be able to do shit because their offense never does shit. They can't run the ball. Couldn't run the ball on Pitt. Couldn't run the ball on Virginia Tech. Definitely can't run the ball on Texas. Probably can't throw the ball either. And this is an offense that wants to throw it. The problem is, I don't know how you lay 13.5 points with Texas offense. That offense isn't very good. The Texas defense, I'll co-sign. I'll put up top 3, top 5 in the country. But the Texas offense has shown us time and time and again, second half of the year, Texas offense hasn't looked good at all. They racked up these crazy offensive numbers the first half of the season against some shitty competition. When you got into SEC play, Texas offense started laying eggs. Quinn Ewers really hasn't looked all that great since the injury. Texas run game has been pretty inconsistent too. It has shown up at times, but a lot of times where Texas can't run the ball either. Georgia, in their 2 games against Texas, held Texas to 1 yard per carry. Not 1 yard. 1 yard per carry. That's what Georgia held Texas to in both of their games combined. So I don't see how you lay this big number with Texas with that offense. That being said, the shit was at 11. I got an 11.5. It's at 13.5 now. They're indicative that something is coming in on the other side with the influence to move this line. Everyone's taking Clemson. I hate it. I'm going to watch the whole time, watch Clemson get their asses beat, and I'm going to sit there shaking my head like I'm an idiot and I deserve to lose. Go ahead, Scoop.
Well, I'm not that upset that I took Clemson. Now I feel like I'm questioning my life. Yeah, I'm gonna ride the underdog train here. I just feel like this is too many points. 13.5 points. Texas is a great team, but 13.5 point favorites, that's a bit much. Like I said, everyone is on Clemson right now. Everyone, like the world is on Clemson. This is actually the only game being played in good weather, so that I think will help Clemson a little. They make their offense on big plays. I'm not saying that's going to come easy at all against a solid Texas defense, but it definitely helps. And the big thing, as much as I hate the testosterone-laden Dabo Swinney, he's been in here a lot of times. He knows what it's like to be in these games. This isn't the same Clemson team from Georgia to start the season. Klubnik has gotten better. Still not a great quarterback by any means, but he's one capable of making solid throws. One issue will be the run game for Clemson. Moffitt has been playing through injury. There are other big running backs out. I think, what's his name? Haynes. And Texas is just awesome against the run. So Klubnik is going to have to make plays, which, like Kyle said, I don't know. He's going to have to roll out a bit, maybe get the screen game going and quick passes. And I know Clemson really shouldn't be here with their 3 losses, but Miami choked, and here they are. And like Kyle said, though, really the reason why I think this game's going to be closer is I don't trust this Texas offense. They are getting worse. They were getting worse as the season went on. They scored 20 or less in 4 of the last 7 games, and Quinn Ewers doesn't look right at all. He's probably playing hurt, even though they're not going to admit that till after the season. So I do think Texas wins this game, but I'm catching 13 points with Dabo and a solid Clemson team. I don't see a blowout. I'm just talking myself into this bet pretty much as I'm talking. But yeah, I'm going to take Clemson.
Real quick, before we move on, can I just say, somebody asked why I said Clemson was a step up in class. I'm just going to read you the second half of Texas' schedule. It was the game against Georgia where they looked terrible. Then they played Vandy, Florida. Florida had a backup quarterback in that game. It was the third string, actually. It was a kid from Yale. Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M, and Georgia again. Name me the team with the rushing attack. Florida, right? Florida ran for almost 5 yards per carry in that game. Almost a 60% success rate with a third-string quarterback. A team they knew was running the ball, ran all over them. Now, Florida didn't compete in that game, but again, they had a third-string quarterback. Couldn't do anything. So it is possible to run on
Clemson
Texas.
can't run the ball, though, Andy.
Yes, I understand. Clemson has struggled to run the ball. I'm just saying it isn't impossible to see a team run the ball in Texas, and Clemson is clearly a step up in class comparative to the teams I just said, besides Georgia. And they didn't belong on the same field as Georgia the first time, and Georgia beat them with a backup quarterback the second time. So it's clear that Clemson is a step up in class. So
Georgia beat him with a backup quarterback is a little bit inaccurate way to describe that. Texas won that game. Some bullshit gave you the win. Next game, yo.
Also, it's too legit. It's like a 50-50 split right now, but it was dominating Texas. It was like 80% of the money, and now it's going all the way to Clemson's side. So everything in the last 2 days is everyone's betting Clemson.
I don't know a single person on Texas.
Like it started with Texas when it was lower, but now with 13.5, everyone's betting Clemson. So
there's definitely some quote unquote sharp money on the Texas side buying this lineup. Maybe they're all smarter than us and they're gonna win. Tennessee, Ohio State, possible dog walking.
I don't think it'll be a dog walking good. I don't think it'll be a close game.
But you wouldn't quite classify it as a dog walk.
Dog walking about 3 touchdowns.
So this is not a dog walk.
Yeah, no, this isn't a dog walk.
Well, I am on the under. I bet it at 47.5. That's a bet I currently have open. That being said, I did the video yesterday, and the more I've been talking about this game in the Discord and hearing people's opinions, I also think Ohio State's going to cover the 7, to be honest. Now that it dropped to 7, it was at 7.5. I think I'm going to place another bet on Ohio State -7. As of right now, the only bet I have open is the under. The matchup between Tennessee's offense and Ohio State's defense is pretty substantial in favor of the Buckeyes here. Tennessee's offensive line has struggled. Ohio State -7, please. Tennessee has struggled pass protection a little bit this year. They're like 79th in pressure rate allowed, like 81st in hurry rate allowed. So they've struggled a little bit in pass protection. And normally I'd be like, okay, whatever. But on the road in Columbus, that Ohio State defensive front is some serious shit. That the pass rush is going to be all over Nico, and he has some really significant splits when given a clean pocket and when under pressure. I mean, his numbers look pretty bad under pressure. I'm talking about a terrible QB rating, terrible pressure to sack rate, terrible yards per attempt. He hasn't played well under pressure. He doesn't turn the ball over, so that's a positive. But other than that, this Ohio State pass rush against Nico and that Tennessee offensive line should be a serious mismatch in favor of the Buckeyes. Also, Tennessee's an offense that's looking to run the ball. I'm not seeing it in Columbus. I mean, Ohio State's defensive front. Would you guys say Ohio State up there with maybe best defense in the country?
Yeah.
I mean, you take out there's one game on the road in Eugene, right? That Oregon game. Oregon's offense looked great against Ohio State. You take out that one game, Ohio State's allowing 9 points a game. 9. Literally 9, not 19. They're allowing 9 points per game if you take out that Oregon game. And the way Oregon was able to play so well against Ohio State, number one, they're an absolutely loaded offense. It's an NFL offense. Number two, Dylan Gabriel gets rid of the ball quick as hell. Takes the Ohio State pass rush out of the game. It's not Tennessee, man. That's not what Nico does. He doesn't take those 3-step drops, get it to the flat. Those 3-step drops, quick hit over the middle. Like, he doesn't do that. That's not what Tennessee does. Tennessee tries to run the ball and utilize the run to set up some big play opportunities for Nico. Best of luck here on the road in Ohio State. So, yeah, I think Ohio State is going to cover the 7. Now, on the other side of the ball, Tennessee's defensive front has my respect. That's an elite run defense. I really think that Tennessee defense probably, I put it right up there. Top 5, top 7 in the country. But I do think Will Howard may have opportunities to make throws. Is Ohio State going to be able to run the ball in Tennessee? Probably not. But I think Will Howard can make some throws. But regardless, I think the mismatch on the other side is so substantial that Ohio State, all Will Howard has to do is not lose the game, and the defense should win him this one. Just make a couple plays, move the chains a couple times. I'm going to say final score 24-6, Ohio State Buckeyes. Not quite a dog walking, but a defensive dominant win. Go ahead, take Tennessee, you SEC lover.
Me? I like Ohio State by 2 touchdowns.
Because you're biased against the SEC.
Yeah. It's either way. Look, I will say that Tennessee gets branded as this team that can run the ball, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. They want to run the ball, and I think that they have the guys that you would think they're a pretty good offensive line. They have a good running back in Sampson. Nico can also move a little bit himself, but every time they had to step up and play a defense that can stop the run, or a good defense like Oklahoma, they had a 28.6% success rate against Oklahoma running the ball. I mean, that's terrible. The next game after that was Arkansas. Arkansas is like a top 50 at best defense. They had 34% success. I mean, these success rates are terrible. They're not actually successful running the ball. They're breaking out some long runs. You're not going to do that on the road against a really, really good Ohio State defense. So, like, the only time they were successful running the ball against a good defense was Georgia. Still averaged almost like only 4 yards per carry. And they kind of had to abandon the run in that game anyway. So, like, I don't see it from that perspective. I don't see it from their offense because I don't think Nico's going to make the plays that a young like that. And then on the defensive side, name me the quarterback that they played that was better than Will Howard. They didn't play one. The best quarterback that they played was Carson Beck. Carson Beck was terrible every time. Carson Beck lit him up. So who's the quarterback that they
Wait,
faced?
didn't they play Lagway? Or was that Mertz?
Well, they played. That was early. That would have been early.
They played Mertz. Yeah, they played Mertz. Oh, I think that was Mertz's last game, actually.
They played Milroe, but Milroe didn't have that great of a. I mean, everybody's talking about Milroe as he's great. Milroe's really not.
No,
that
he looked
good.
like shit. I had Alabama in that game. He looked like shit.
Yeah, the Tennessee defense looked really good in that game, but Will Howard's better than Milroe anyway. So the one quarterback that they saw I would put to the level of Will Howard was Carson Beck, and Carson Beck tore him up, and Carson Beck's not even that good. So again, I don't see it from the defense. I don't see it from the offense. I think they're going to struggle a lot. Plus cold weather, I think that plays into it. Not that Tennessee's a team that I'd look at like they can't play in the cold, but it does factor in playing in that type of environment, especially because I think that it's going to be very loud in Ohio State for a young quarterback and for an offense that's not going to be able to I don't think he'll be able to run the ball. He's going to need to make plays. I don't think he can do it. And also, one last thing. There's no team that should be woken up more than Ohio State, because the last time we saw them on a football field, they literally got the most embarrassing loss I've ever seen. They shouldn't even be playing right now. Honestly, they shouldn't be playing in this game right now. Should have won that game and then won the Big Ten. So the last time we saw them, they got embarrassed. I think that's going to play into it as well. Ryan Day also coaching for his job, kind of. So I think that plays into it.
I think he's back regardless.
I think it's more likely that he is, but it's part of it because people already hate the guy. So, but I think it's going to be a comfortable win here.
First of all, Jalen Milroe is way better than Will Howard, and they played him. So, yeah.
I said that, but I said not better than Will Howard.
It does remind me of the 2022 year a bit, where Michigan beat them, and then they went into the Georgia game like pissed off, and I mean that was like the best college football game ever. That Ohio State Georgia game in 2022.
So I've been critical of Nico as a quarterback most of the year. I mean, to be honest, I took Tennessee when his line came out. I have it at like +8. I'm still riding Tennessee here, but if I was making a bet at this point, I would take the under with Kyle. I feel like all the pressure is on Ohio State and Ryan Day. I actually do feel if Ryan Day loses this game, he's going to be fired. Surprisingly, this is only the second time these teams ever met. Last time was 95. And the thing with Ohio State, I think, is how well they're going to protect Will Howard. Tennessee has one of the best defensive lines in the nation. And now Ohio State lost their starting center, starting left tackle. Tennessee has 29 sacks on the season, 93 tackles for loss. So I think Ohio State's going to struggle in protection and struggle throwing the ball. Nico had a decent year. I mean, he's a freshman after all, but this team relies on Dylan Sampson. He's one of the better running backs here. Ohio State should contain him for the most part, but it's going to be hard to keep him down for long. I think overall, though, this is going to be a defensive battle. Both offenses can struggle here, I feel. Ohio State at home is going to be fired up, but I do feel like this is, again, too many points if you're leading a side. But I just feel like there won't be a consistent run game for Ohio State. They're going to have problems protecting, and it's hard on the other side for Nico to see him doing anything against Ohio State. So I feel like there's not going to be any explosive plays from either side, but Yeah, I mean, a unit I can feel is Tennessee rushing attack. Believe it or not, I feel like they're going to get some room there. I think you're going to create some plays. I think this is going to be a one possession game, but I would definitely take the under if you're making a bet in this game.
I like it, Scoop. Well, I don't like the fact that you have a Tennessee +8 bet, but under's cool.
Well, I mean, I took that 3 weeks ago.
I know. The more I know you're supposed to get on the lines early, right? That's what professional bettors will tell you to do. Dude, sometimes I get really frustrated when I end up on a bet trying to beat the line that I don't even like midway through the week. So I struggle with that. We should record a podcast on that, like the pros and cons of doing that.
The struggles of a pro bettor.
Next up,
NFL.
Houston, Kansas City, Arrowhead. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think this is my favorite bet of the day. Oh, get Andy out of here. We're talking real ball.
Andy.
You don't want to
fuck out of here.
Get Andy off the screen,
please.
please.
The fuck out of here.
I've had enough.
Truly, I've had enough of this, man.
Good luck, everybody. Have a great day.
Bad enough we have a cheap-ass Fisher-Price drum set on the screen this whole time.
Bro,
I used to have one of those growing up, and I'll tell you what.
What do you mean growing up? You too. Get it.
Well, I guess it didn't help.
First of all, I have a child. I have a 2-year-old.
I
can't play drums when he's sleeping, so I use the electric one that I use.
Yeah.
All right. Houston, Kansas City. Put your correct name up.
I'm trying. I'm just trying to get into the groove
too busy
of the
making fun of
show.
me.
Sorry, I'm a bit out of it.
We're waiting.
I mean, you could start. Wait a second.
I don't think people can focus until they see your name. Your mother's.
Your mother's.
All right.
My ad is your mother's.
Houston, Kansas City, and Arrowhead. I think this is my favorite bet of the day. Now, today is awesome football today. It's going to be a ton of fun. I have a lot of bets open. That being said, on a gambling standpoint, I feel like a lot of the lines are pretty on point. So I don't necessarily like a lot of my bets. I like this one. I think Houston +3.5 is the correct side. I think the Texans could win the game. So I guess this is my favorite bet of the day. And I say that lightly because I know some people hear that and they're like, I'm going all in, betting my life savings on this. And if it loses, I'm going to come back and cry in the comments. That's usually what happens when I say that, if it loses. But I actually have done pretty well when I say that. So this is my favorite bet of the day. Houston +3.5. And this gets even weirder. The angle I like the most in this game is the matchup for Houston offensively, which doesn't even make sense. How do you trust CJ Stroud on the road? He's been really struggling this year, number one. He's been bad on the road his whole career. Even last year when he was the man, wasn't that great on the road. He only threw 6 touchdown passes on the road all of last season. So over the course of his entire career, last year and this year, CJ Stroud is unreliable on the road. And I'm taking him on the road in Arrowhead to move the ball. I know, it sounds crazy. But like I said, I like the matchup. Number one, I think Houston, this sounds even crazier, I think Houston might be able to run the ball a little bit in this game. Chiefs have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. If you look at a season-long graphic, if you're going by season-long numbers, Kansas City has a top 5, top 7 run defense. That being said, last 4 games, Kansas City's been struggling to stop the run, and that's against Carolina. That's against the Raiders. That's against the Browns. Teams that cannot run the ball are running the ball in Kansas City right now. So the Chiefs' run defense has not looked good. 4 games in a row against teams that can't run the ball, running the ball on Kansas City a little bit. It hasn't been an explosion, but 4.8 yards per carry in the last 4 games. Teams have been running the ball on the Chiefs. So then you add in the fact that Leo Chenal may not play in this game for the Chiefs. That's a linebacker for the Chiefs. Their highest rated defender against the run, according to Pro Football Focus, by far. He has a 91 run defense rating on Pro Football Focus. The next closest is 69. So he is their most important piece against the run by far, according to Pro Football Focus, and he may not play in this game. He's dealing with an illness. He hasn't practiced. So if he doesn't play, you got a team that's been struggling against the run without their best run defender. I think Houston might be able to run the ball in this game. And then in the secondary, the Chiefs are missing 2 of their starting corners. 2 of their top 3 corners are out. Now, Watson's been out for a while. That's not new. but the Chiefs' pass defense went downhill after Watson get hurt. So they've already been pretty vulnerable to the pass without Watson. Now you add, what's the other guy's name?
Shamari Connor is the nickel corner.
Connor, yeah. So now you add Connor as well. They're missing 2 of their top 3 corners here, Kansas City. So you got C.J. Stroud, yes, on the road. I don't trust him on the road either. But you got C.J. Stroud with possible run support against the Chiefs secondary that A, hasn't been very good, and B, missing 2 of their top 3 corners. On top of that, Kansas City runs a lot of man coverage. C.J. Stroud, much, much better numbers against man coverage. Kansas City also runs, what's the other matchup we like?
Cover 4. The one zone coverage they like to run is cover 4, and he carves cover 4. So...
Yeah, so like I said, I didn't play the money line because Patrick Mahomes just figures out a way to get the ball in field goal range to win it. But I thought plus 3.5 was a great bet. I truly do think Houston might win.
The one thing that works against Stroud is really the fact that the Chiefs blitz at such a high rate, and Stroud stinks against the blitz. But I think a lot of other things are working there. And yeah, if I had to give a lean on the side, I would definitely lean the Texans with you, Kyle. I think my way of backing you there is by just taking Mixon over the rushing yards. I really liked your angle there. You actually kind of got me onto that Mixon play, and just kind of sharing my thoughts there. Even going back to a Cincy day, Mixon is so much more profitable as a guy on the road. Over his last 12 of 13 on the road, averaging 90.2 yards per game on 4.6 yards per carry, compared to under his last 12 of 16 at home, averaging just 48 yards per game on 3.4 yards per carry. So we're talking about a guy who averages nearly half of his yards per game at home and just about 2/3 of the yards per carry at home. So now he's on the road facing KC rush defense that, yes, on the season, as Kyle was alluding to, one of the best in the league. But if you start looking at the last 3 weeks, I mean, they're allowing 4.8 yards per carry. The success rate has gone from 27% they allowed from weeks 3 through 11 to 40% the last 3 weeks. And look at the offenses they're facing: 16th, 22nd, 28th, 31st in DVOA. I mean, is it unrealistic for Mixon, one of the best running backs in the NFL, on the road to get going here? I mean, in the Chiefs' last 4 games, 7 to 8 opposing running backs with an available yards line have gone over the rush yards total. The only one who didn't, Jonathan Brooks. I think the guy had like 3 rush attempts in that game, and it was his first game off of an ACL tear. So I really like the over there in that one. And then the other play that I have in this game is I went with a Dalton Schultz SGP. I don't really like to do SGPs that much, but I think this one is very good just because of the correlation and the value here. Basically, I would do this one on Bet365. It's Dalton Schultz, 30+ yards, and then 4+ receptions. So I've just been taking tight ends against the Chiefs weekly. The only week I can remember missing this year is Will Dissly, his longest reception. If the guy didn't get hurt, I'm very confident he would have missed, because right out of the half, Stone Smart immediately 20-yard reception against that Chiefs defense. They allow the most yards per game, 3rd most yards per reception, second most receptions per game to opposing tight ends, and we see his first read target share increase by 5% against the 2 high looks. Chiefs run at the 2nd highest rate in the league. On top of that, the icing on the cake for me, Chiefs blitz at one of the highest rates in the league. Schultz yards per reception doubles against the blitz. So why not just take the main line here for Schultz? He has a very high correlation in terms of receptions and the yardage. So with 3 or less receptions on the road, going back to 2021, Schultz is 14-0 to the under, averaging just 13.2 yards per game. But with 4 or more receptions on the road, going back to 2021, he's 16-2 to the over, averaging 52.9. So in a spot where I think we're going to see some volume against the KC defense that specifically struggles against tight ends, let's parlay those 2 together instead of drinking some juice, and let's get some plus 140. So yeah, I really like those 2 plays. I know we've been in a rough stretch. Sunday, we didn't get to see you guys because of Optimum. I went off, and then 2 days I didn't get to see you guys. Went 0-5, so it's pretty brutal, but hoping to redeem myself.
Let's hear from the drum set.
Yeah, so I mean, we got 2 good games today. Apparently, Mahomes' Superman went from doubtful on Monday to basically no injury designation on Tuesday. We know the Chiefs don't really cover games until that Browns game last week. Both teams already clinched their division. I don't know if Hollywood Brown is playing. I don't think that really matters much. I don't think he'll get a ton of snaps here. I'm going to be on the sharp side and take the Chiefs. I don't think the Texans are that good, and that's not me as a bitter Jags fan. That division is just really bad, and Stroud has taken a step back this year. Chiefs should continue to be blitz happy to frustrate Stroud, like AJ said. I think that's going to be their key here. I actually do think Michigan's going to get involved a little more. They should anyway, even though he's battling some injuries. But yeah, the offense looks broken for the Texans. Mixon was the leading receiver with 33 yards for them against the Dolphins. So the only reason they were even in that game was Stingley and Bullock. Mahomes isn't Tua. It hasn't been a great season by any means for the Chiefs, but I trust him a lot more than Tua, especially because they're home at night in Arrowhead. This team's still 7-0 at home. If you're betting a total, I would definitely lean the under here. Both offenses haven't been explosive whatsoever. I don't like the Texans that are getting above a field goal. I get the values there for the Texans, but I'm going with the Chiefs. And I mean, maybe we'll get some roughing the passer calls against Mahomes because he's hurt and needs to be protected. Yeah, I love the Chiefs here. So give me the Chiefs.
Next in Mr. Weskers, the NBA bets I placed are on the website. Next up, Steelers, Ravens. The line is now 6.5. All the 7's gone. No, I'm seeing 7s here. No, so put the poll up at 7 because it's definitely 7.
Okay.
I finally zeroed in on a bet of this game. We were talking about it for a while last night in the Discord. I don't know how you lay 7 to Pittsburgh. I get why the line is where it is. I mean, 7 feels a little extreme. But, I mean, I personally would have it at 6.5 myself. So I do get it. I don't know how you lay 7 to a team that, A, always beats Baltimore, has a very good record against Baltimore, has a very good record against Baltimore in Baltimore. I mean, the Steelers just always beat this team. So I don't know how you lay 7 to the Steelers in that respect. And also, how you lay 7 to Mike Tomlin, who's like the best ever as a road dog. I don't know how you do it. So I really was wrestling with a lot of ideas here of how to place a bet on this. Obviously, it's a standalone NFL game. I want to have a bet, and I'm not going to pass on a standalone NFL game. The bet I ended up placing, and there should be a graphic in there, is Baltimore team total under 26.5. That's what I ended up placing because this is the way I looked at it. I really don't know what to expect from the Steelers offensively. There's a lot of moving pieces there. Obviously, there's no George Pickens, which I think we all can agree it's a huge loss. I mean, he's such a huge percentage of the volume of Russell Wilson's targets and their pass production. Russell Wilson has been throwing since he took over as the starting quarterback, been throwing a lot of deep passes. Huge percentage of those go to George Pickens. Without George Pickens, this Steelers offense is completely different. They go from an offense you might have to be a little afraid of to a really bad offense. They can't run the ball. They try to. They can't do it. So without George Pickens, I can't bring myself to put money on Steelers plus 7. But I mean, at the same time, the Ravens secondary has shown us that they're definitely vulnerable. They also run a lot of single high safeties, right? And Russell Wilson's grading it. Or no, what did they run?
I mean, honestly, these days I would have to check.
Oh, never mind. My bad. I thought that was single high safety. I should have opened my notes before we started.
No, it's all good. I mean, we look at tons of games per week. It's not.
They run man coverage. In the since week 8, there's 7.
They have definitely ran a lot. That's what it is.
That's what I was thinking of. So since week 8, they have 33.7% man coverage frequency. So they've been running a lot more man coverage since week 8. The Ravens of Russell Wilson's very good against man coverage. Whatever. The point I'm making is I think the Steelers could potentially score. There's variance on that side. The angle I felt most comfortable with is taking the Ravens team total under because, as we know, Lamar Jackson is awful against this team. I mean, he's terrible against the Steelers. His career numbers against the Steelers are so bad. And the reason for that is he hangs onto the ball a long time, and the Steelers always, are towards the top of the league in time to pressure. So Lamar Jackson, a guy that hangs onto the football 4 or 5 seconds every single time he drops back. Steelers pressure gets there in 2.5 seconds. The math just doesn't add up there. So Lamar Jackson's just not a guy you could trust against Pittsburgh. So I did Ravens team total under. The reason I didn't take the Steelers plus 7 with that is I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens win this one 23-10. Like, I think the Ravens could stay under this total and still cover 6.5, 7. So this is the bet I placed. Do I actually love it? No, but I did bet it.
I guess the one thing I'm slightly confused on why you just didn't ride with my bet here, the under. I'm just taking the full game under. I have no faith in Mr. Russell Wilson and co to do anything offensively. I mean, unders 8-0 in their last 8 matchups as well, 7-2 in their last 9 matchups at Baltimore. I guess the one thing I guess you are covering yourself with is the fact that the Steelers defense scoring some points. I mean, Lamar Jackson does turn the ball over essentially every time he faces the Steelers defense. He has an interception in all 5 of his starts against them. So maybe you're covering yourself in that aspect. So that could be an angle there. I just went with the full game under because of obviously the history here and the fact that Russell Wilson couldn't exploit this Ravens pass defense when they were in the midst of struggling, missing multiple guys from injury. Now they're next to fully healthy. They've shown some insane improvement over the second half of the season, and Russell Wilson's without the lone weapon who can expose the weakness of this defense, Mr. George Pickens. I mean, they can't defend the deep ball, and they run man coverage at a higher rate. I mean, the only guy who could really beat man coverage on the team, George Pickens, and the only guy who could expose the weakness in the deep area of the field is George Pickens. So I'm just not afraid of this Steelers offense right now. To make matters worse, Steelers offense, their run game has completely lost all the steam coming out of the bye. Since week 9, they're averaging 3.8 yards per carry, a 34 success rate, and negative 2.26 EPA per rush. The latter 2 ranks I just said right there, 30th and 29th during that span. This is an offense with Arthur Smith. We said it going into the season. They completely rely on establishing a run game and setting up that deep pass. Well, now you don't have a run game and you don't have a deep threat. So I don't see the Steelers offense doing anything. I see that demise continuing. On the other side, we got Lamar Jackson, who, yes, he looked incredible that first game out of the bye at MetLife, but who doesn't look incredible at MetLife? I mean, the Giants defense is a pile of shit, especially without Dexter Lawrence, and I forget who their top corner is these days. I mean, my God, they're so bad. Now they're facing a Steelers defense he can't figure out. 5 career starts, 56 completion percentage, 5 TDs, 8 picks, 66 pass rating. We've seen the Steelers increase their usage of man coverage as the year's gone on, and while Lamar is godlike against zone, not so much against man. On top of that, there's a real chance that he's without Bateman and Aguilar here. Neither of them practice on Thursday. Expect this to be a very run-heavy AFC slugfest. Gonna just take the under here like I did in the first matchup and hope to cash out again. So, yep, all over the under here. I'm hoping to see a lot of Bozzy today. I see a lot of Boswell comments. Get Bozzy out of here, baby. I want to see a lot of that man today.
I think Boswell's going to choke today.
I would love that too.
Two missed field goals from Boz today.
He wants to miss a well, actually, I have him in fantasy.
Toast would crumble.
He better not be missing field goals
If
today.
Boswell missed 2 field goals, Toast would crumble.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be remiss to not say that Boswell. I mean, shout out Toast. I know he wants me to say it. Over 6.5 kicking points for Boswell.
It's a
today.
trap. Don't bet that.
He's been all over it. I told Kyle this the other day, which is funny. Lamar Jackson has never played the Steelers in Baltimore with fans in attendance.
That's crazy.
Since 2018, never once. I mean, it means nothing probably, but I just thought that was funny. He's never played at home against the Steelers. Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers here. I definitely think it might be the public side. But I'll stay with the trend of Lamar against the Steelers. Just in terms of an over, too, there hasn't been an over in this game since 2020. 8 straight games, it's been on the under. Steelers won the last 4 against the Ravens. I know without Pickens, Russ is going to struggle a bit. Not sure if Russ can cook here. Freiermuth is the next best receiver other than Pickens. There's just not much there. The reason why I would stay in this is the reason why the Steelers would stay in this is obviously defense. They're 6th in scoring defense, 9th in total defense. They're awesome against the run. And I think that's what they're going to use is Henry a lot here in this game since it'll be cold. Some smash mouth football. But this is still one of the best front sevens in the NFL. Another fun stat, underdogs in this series are 19-2-3 against the spread since Tomlin and Harbaugh took over as coach. 19-2-3 for the underdogs, which is ridiculous. So Lamar Jackson 1-4 against the Steelers, 5 touchdowns, 8 picks. These are trends I'm sticking to. Underdogs play up in this series. It's going to be a close game throughout, so I would definitely take the Steelers plus the 7.
And the amount of trends for the Steelers in this game is like ridiculous.
Yeah,
so.
the underdog's like 18-2, 8 straight unders. It's like Steelers Ravens just blindly take the underdog and the under.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do I guess a
Community parlay.
Yes, sir.
Hit the sound.
Community parlay, the parlay we bet, yeah. Community parlay is for the community. We come unite, making a parlay.
Now we'll do a community top bet.
Not a community parlay.
Do you know you click the song off before you say yeah. You like click, you click it off before it gets.
Yeah. I gave him a live rendition. There you go. Okay, so
it's not the same.
Damn, we don't get that. I mean, that's nice. That's
go.
on the deep cuts.
Yeah. Now you're getting the live raw studio sessions. You have to go
do you want to
deep
do
on
an
Apple
underdog?
Music for that. Yeah, I'll do the underdog.
This underdog's brought to you by Bicentennial Man.
This is the underdog brought to you live from Andrew from the Bicentennial Man. I believe he's a human. Don't let the World Council tell you any different. So in this 3-piece, we went with Joe Mixon, higher than 64.5 rushing yards. Really like the angle for him to get going on the ground. I mean, guy's a road warrior, to say it lightly. And the KC rush defense showing major vulnerability, so I like him to get going there. Dalton Schultz, higher than 3.5 receptions. He needs the volume to go over on the road. KC, bad against tight ends like that. And then Nicholas Singleton, we're bringing Andy out of the pen. Dude's been awesome with the underdogs in college lately, so let's see how he does here. So we're going with Nicholas Singleton, higher than 61.5 rushing yards, part of his dog walking special. The underdog promo of the day is Steph Curry, higher than a half total point. So if you would like to add a leg, if you'd like to replace a leg, you could get Steph Curry over a half total point. I mean, I don't know. He was pretty terrible the other day, so I know I want to put that leg in there. And then we got underdog fantasy. If you are not in one of those yellow states and you would like to sign up, well, you can. Just I guess sign up in one of those yellow states. Just enter the promo code BET. And you get a deposit match up to $1,000.
All right, so the poll is running. Yeah, Andy has been hitting those underdogs.
Yeah.
Was he like 3 or 4 in a row or something crazy, right?
He's a
he probably said it a bunch of times. I just don't listen when he talks.
Well, he's a parlay god these days.
Yeah,
he did want to be called parlay god.
He legitimately asked us to call him that.
We're like,
he wasn't joking. He wasn't trying to be funny.
I think we're just gonna call you different things.
Yeah, like no, we'll just continue calling you Norman or whatever the hell names you give.
Yeah.
Lori Beth Denberg.
You look more like a Maurice to me.
The community top bet is Penn State.
Okay.
So the community top bet could be spoiled in as soon as 13 minutes. Thanks everyone for watching. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. NFL show. Me, Prop Beaver Toast, and Steve from Just About Outside will be here. Yeah, everyone have a good one. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me. Please remember to bet responsibly. Later.